everyone. I'm super excited today to welcome you on the Artelize Podcast because I have a truly exceptional guest. She's amazing and full of energy. Welcome, Zuly Inirio.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Paola.
It's an absolute pleasure, Zuly. So, originally, you are from the Dominican Republic and you're widely recognized for your advocacy promoting Afro-Latinidad in classical music. You are founder of the Afro-Latinx Song and Opera Project.
Yes,
You commission works and you amplify historically excluded voices in the classical canon to attract people by highlighting these hidden stories that United States is full of, right?
absolutely.
I would like to mention that Zuly sang everywhere, of course, in Europe. And I know you came to Italy, and I'm so proud. And I also know you have a little bit of Italy in yourself. So this is amazing. You sang Verdi's Requiem in Munich, in Germany, but also Aida in Sicily. You have collaborated with institutions like the Lincoln Center, Duolingo, and Carnegie Mellon University. And you are affiliated with NALAC One Hoods Artevist Academy, Opera America's Opera Leaders of Colors, and Sphinx Lead. You hold a Doctor of Musical Arts from Louisiana State University and a Master of Social Work from the University of Pittsburgh. So you integrate your artistic practice and community-based leadership to create something that is truly unique, I would say, and so important. It's work rooted in cultural celebration, equity, and social justice. Zuly, what's more?
Yeah, I stay busy. I started just like any other singer, right? I fell in love with opera. I saw an opera when I was 15 years old. I went to see La Traviata. And I saw this when I grew up in Miami. I went to see it in Miami, and I just remember being 15 years old, sitting all the way in the back, and I was just hit, like just floored by what I was experiencing. It was the music, the costumes, the unamplified voices, everybody just coming together and just creating this world for me to experience. And I don't think I fully understood what was happening, but I just knew that I was like, I want to do that. I don't know what it is, but I just want to do that because I fell in love with it. And so since then, since me being 15 to now, I mean, I dedicated my life to, you know, being in opera and being an opera singer. And so I started first, performing, of course. And as I was performing and being in school and doing my training and all of that, and especially working on my doctoral degree, there was a lot of different moments that um, made me realize, like, I don't see any music about people like me, even like in the things that were presented to me that were from like Latin America, right? In the Caribbean. So early on, I remember I did a recital when I was in my doctoral program. It was all music in Spanish. So this was like music from Spain and from Latin America. I was the first person to do this in the university ever. And as I was curating the repertoire for that, I was looking for music that was specifically either by Afro-Latin composers or that talked about being Afro-Latin. So I would say, and just to clarify, when I say Afro-Latin, for folks listening, these are people from Latin America of African descent. I'm very much a person that does a lot of advocacy work, but also a lot of amplification when it comes to Afro-Latin things, not just in classical music, but in general. So yeah, so Afro-Latin just means a person that is Latin American of African descent. In Spanish, we say Afrodescendientes. And uh, so I was looking for music that focused on people of African descent in Latin America. And my own hypothesis was that we have a very long history with colonialism, and so there is no way that people of African descent in Latin America didn't contribute to classical music, right? Like, it was just something that I thought about, like, who was creating this music, who was part of this, all of that. So that really stuck with me, even after I did that recital, like, I want to say in 2012. That's when I did that recital. So that really stuck with me. So later on, way later in 2020, that still stayed with me. I was still thinking about, I couldn't find that music, but I really feel like it has to be out there. This doesn't make any sense to me. That's the scholar researcher part of me, right? And so what happened in 2020? We have all this time on our hands, right? Because we can't sing, we can't do anything. I couldn't do all the things that I was doing before. So I did a cursory research around this, trying to figure that out. And as soon as I start looking, I see that the first composer from the New World that was celebrated in Europe and his operas were debuted at La Scala was an Afro-Brazilian composer called Antonio Carlos Gomes. And I was like,
That's amazing.
wait, why didn't I know this? And so that's what sparked my whole journey with the Afro-Latinx Song and Opera Project.
That's a beautiful story. And actually, normally we do start with a fun fact before diving in, but with you, we just wanted to dive in immediately. And that's amazing. But I know you do have a fun fact that you have never shared before with no one on earth, and you're going to share today for the first time on the Artelize Podcast.
Here's a special sponsor segment. I have with me Brian Gill, executive producer of the Queen's Opera Theatre. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Paola. Pleasure to be here.
So you're developing something incredibly timely, I would say, a new opera based on the Edding machine. Tell us about Mr. Zero.
Okay, thank you very much, Paola. So the playwright Elmer Rice wrote this play in 1923, and it's, as you'll see in the explanation, it's quite timely in this day and age. So Mr. Zero is an accountant who's worked loyally for the same company for 25 years, only to learn that he's going to be replaced by the adding machine. So I think everyone listening to the podcast can relate as we're looking at the advent of AI. I mean, it's already here, but...
Definitely, with AI transforming our industry, this story feels like it was written actually yesterday rather than a century ago. But I am curious to hear what drew you to commission this particular work.
Yeah, I would say exactly that relevance that you hinted at. Opera has always been about exploring the human condition, and right now audiences are, dealing with the technology displacing that human connection in their workplaces, in the consumption of art. Really, I would say we're seeing AI everywhere.
I know also that productions addressing contemporary anxieties generate a lot of curiosity, first of all, because they're so relatable and can create deep connection. So what's your vision for this one act?
Yeah, so our initial plan is to workshop it, to be an intimate production, maybe, smaller, as we're talking about commissioning and making it a one-act opera. And hopefully audiences will see themselves in Mr. Zero's story so they can relate to Mr. Zero in their own experiences or similar experiences of their friends and family. It's all about really what makes us all human when machines can do our jobs, and ultimately takes away, in my mind, the essential element of human connection.
That's very powerful. And where do you stand with funding this commission?
Yeah, so at the moment we're at the early stages, and we're looking for listeners who are interested in supporting our new work and who believe in not only the opera's power to illuminate our moment in history, and not only today's history but tomorrow and the future history. So it's really a mirror not only for 2026 but beyond. What's the line in Toy Story? Infinity and beyond.
Absolutely. For our listeners interested in supporting groundbreaking new work like this one, how can they connect with Queen's Opera Theatre?
Thank you. I believe the easiest way to reach out to me is by sending me an email, which is simply my first name, Brian, Brian, at Queen's Opera Theatre, which is theatre afro-latinx.org.
We will include all the details in the description below for anyone interested. So, Brian, thank you so much. Sometimes, you know, the most relevant art comes from looking back so that we can see forward, as you were saying. So please show up and support this amazing work, because this is really one of a kind.
Thank you so much, Paola, and all of your fellow staff at Artelize.
So, fun fact, when I was in my undergraduate degree, I had the distinct pleasure of being in an opera chorus with Florida Grand Opera for a season. And so I was in Aida as in the chorus, which I eventually sang Aida, which was very nice. And I was also in this really great production of La Sonambula. And Renata Scotto was the stage director. And so she was wonderful. She was very funny. And so, you know, all the costumes came from Italy. Looked beautiful, all of these things. It was a wonderful, it was wonderful. And her assistant, his name was, I think, Marco Strano. He was also wonderful. And there was one day in one show where my dress, you know, at the top, there's a hook and eye. So there's the hook and the hook and eye that has to go like that. Well, it was open and I had a wig on and I went like this and my wig got stuck on the hook while I was on stage. And I was like this and I was like, I can't move my head. Oh my God. And
Oh my God.
as I'm sitting like this, listening to this person singing, the one of the leads singing, I turned to my friend. I was like, my wig is stuck to my dress. Can you help me? Right. And so we're singing, and my friend is like, oh my gosh, puts their arm around me, is trying to undo my hair while we're on stage, and eventually did, and I was able to lift my head again, but it felt like an hour. It was probably very fast. But yeah, I was stuck like this for a little bit on stage singing.
Did they record this? So maybe we can
I don't
see
think
you
so.
now.
I was
Now
just
we know
like
the
this.
story behind the scenes.
Yeah, I was like, oh. But I was like, hi, can you help me? Like,
Yeah.
but we made it work. They were like, oh, being like a friendly person on stage, but really they were undoing my hair from my dress.
Oh my God, that's really something, right? Those kind of things you really feel like, oh my God, what now?
And I had to keep singing.
Yeah, my God, that must have been the most difficult, because it's not really the best position.
No,
Unless you're on the very high range. So you were just doing high
yeah,
C's all the time.
it was just very interesting that happened. I'd never had that happen to me before. And I was just like, well, I just got to keep going.
So let's go back, Zuly, to this Afro-Latinidad. When you discovered that composer,
Mhm.
you were a little bit shocked.
Absolutely. So I found this composer and I was just like, wait, so it basically confirmed the hypothesis I had a long time ago. And I was like, oh, okay, so this music is out there, but we're not including it in the canon and we don't really talk about it. Okay. So I think, you know, I'm very much a doer. I like to do things. So when I find something, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do something about it. And so I had all this time on my hands. I was at home and I was like, I figured out a name, the Afro-Latinx Song and Opera Project. And then I actually applied for my first grant ever. Here in Pittsburgh, we have this wonderful thing called Advancing Black Arts in Pittsburgh. And it's a joint venture between the Pittsburgh Foundation and the Heinz Endowment. And so I'd never written a grant in my life. I said, okay, I have nothing else to do. Let me just try. Like, what's the harm in trying? And I wrote this really great narrative. You know, I have an academic background, so I know how to write academically, but you know, grant writing is a little different. So, you know, I did a lot of research online on how to grant write, and I asked some friends, and I created this narrative, and I got my first grant. Like my first grant I ever wrote, I received it, and the feedback that I got is like, well, yeah, I made a case for it, but also, we've never seen anything like this in classical music, because everybody's idea of classical music is that it is a certain way and that it only includes certain composers, and that it's like not for that it's not for, not that it's not for everybody, but it doesn't it's people perceive classical music as a relic when it's actually a living art form. It's still evolving. It's still representing the people that it's supposed to represent. We think about Monteverdi. What was the most incredible thing he did? Well, he wrote an opera about the people for the people, right? That's what moved the art form forward. People are still doing that today. So for me, with the Afro-Latinx Song and Opera Project, yes, I focus on some of the historical existing works, but also I'm focusing on what are we doing today to tell these stories too? So that's where the commissions come in. And so, yes, I got my first grant, and it's been, and now this project has grown so much more than I ever thought it would. At first, I thought it was just going to be commissions and the music and the this and this and this. And I, as part of Sphinx Lead with the Sphinx organization, they take us to different institutions for professional development. I went to the University of North Texas for one of my retreats, which was a wonderful institution. They're doing beautiful things there. And one of the sessions we had was with a bassoon professor that is also trying to diversify bassoon repertoire. And he said, "Oh, I already know who you are and the work that you do," to me. And I was like, "Me? I don't know anything about bassoon. Like, what do you like? Doesn't make any sense." He's like, "Well, I'm reading dissertations and they're citing your project as like a framework for um, diversifying and decolonizing class like repertoire." And I was like, "Huh? Oh, I started it because I wanted a solution for myself, and it ended up being a solution for an entire community."
Yeah, there was the need and people were ready for that. That's beautiful.
Like,
So now you keep commissioning, right? And how is it going? What are the works that you're receiving? I'm really curious about. I'm sure they're amazing.
yeah, so the commissions are slow going, of course, because commissions take just so many years. But some of the things that we're commissioning right now, we're working on an opera um, about Arturo Schomburg, Afro-Puerto Rican scholar, father of Black studies. And I'm collaborating with Dr. Vanessa K. Valdez, who wrote one of his most important biographies. She's going to be the librettist for this. And the composer that I'm working with is Afro-Puerto Rican himself. And he's on board to also write the opera. I won't say his name quite yet because we're figuring things out, but we're still in the works of that. So that's a commission that we're working on right now. We're also thinking about part of the Afro-Latinx Song and Opera Project as well is doing some interdisciplinary work. So I'm working with the actor Chris Rivas on a song cycle of sorts that it will include spoken word and song and movement. And it's about identity within like Latin American culture and how we form identity and how we become who we are. And so it's kind of like a journey through that, almost like it's opera-ish in that way.
Do you have a lot of killing?
Funnily enough, the commissions that I focus on, there's not a lot of killing. There's not a lot of
Good.
it's not focused on trauma.
Oh, thank you.
We have enough of that in daily life.
We
right?
do. Oh my God.
Why not focus on us being humans and
Absolutely.
laughing, enjoying ourselves? There's one particular commission that I'm focused on I'm working with the playwright. She's also Afro-Dominican, Julissa Contreras, and she has a play about a Dominican hair salon. And so we're going to have an opera about a Dominican hair salon.
That is operatic, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
People would be like, a hair salon? Listen, there's a lot that happens at the hair salon.
Oh my God.
So many stories, so much drama, so many, there's so much going on, but it's about that human connection. What does that represent? we're in community, we're doing things together, we're being there for each other. Why not also tell those stories?
When the lights go down in the opera house, you don't know who's sitting next to you. And it doesn't matter. As President Mark Skorka says, in the theater we discover our shared humanity. For over 50 years, Opera America has been bringing people together, supporting new works, championing diverse voices, training artists, and helping companies connect with audiences in ways that truly move us. Whether you're stepping into your very first performance or creating the next big production, there's a place for you here. Join today at operaamerica.org/join and help keep opera alive, relevant, and for everyone. Artelize is proud to work with Opera America on groundbreaking audience research. We're donating $500 to Opera America's Audience Research Fund for every customer who signs up for our annual Plus plan. Find all the info and the links in the description below.
I'll be looking forward to listen to all of these things. It sounds extremely exciting. And I wanted to ask you, are you still performing as an artist?
I am.
So how this has enriched also your artistic performance?
Yeah, this has definitely given me such a wider palette to pull from, because to see myself fully seen and fully represented within an art form that I love so much makes me feel like I can be my full authentic self. So then now when I perform, I am always my full authentic self. I think that's the biggest difference. I don't feel the need to shift or shape myself for the space. The space is gonna accept me as I am. And so, for example, I perform the musics that, the Afro-Latin music, both historical and living composers that are writing these things and that are, connected to these things. I'm also going to be singing at Carnegie Hall in October. I'm singing Dominican classical music. So I'm embodying the things that represent me in the art form that I love, something that I could have never imagined at 15 years old. I didn't. If you would have asked me that I would be doing what I'm doing now, back then I'd be like, wait, what? That's possible? But I made it possible.
This is so powerful, right? So what is your experience when you share this with the other people? So what is the magic that you see happen?
So I still perform. Here in Pittsburgh, we have the Kelly Strayhorn Theater. They have a thing called Fresh Works, and it's where they have an artist in residence for about a month, and you can do a performance in progress, so something that you're working on. So I was the Fresh Works artist for April this year, and I did a one-woman show about myself called The Voice That I Am. It was very vulnerable. I talked about my journey as an artist. I talked about all these things and I kind of, I was speaking, I was singing, I was dancing, all these things. It was like a 30-minute thing. And so in that, I had a dramaturg kind of like help me writing if we're going to speak about it in opera terms, he helped me write the libretto. So he, I was writing it, but he was like also giving me insights on how to best tell my story. Shout out to him. His name is Dr. Jason Mendez. And part of that process, I would tell him, why would anybody care about what I'm saying? Because this is just my life. And he said, Zuly, you are so close to it because you live it, that to you, it's just, this is just my life. But it's just so authentic and it's so real that it's going to touch people. And that's the connection that they're going to have to this. And so when I think about telling my story, I do sometimes think like, why would anybody care? Da, 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 da. But then I always remember it's because I'm close to it. I'm used to it. If I don't know what it's going to unlock in anybody else. If I'm vulnerable and share, hey, this is what I did. Was it easy? No. Do I keep going? Yes. How do I keep going? I have community and that's what keeps me going. And what I've what I've experienced because of that is that I have people reach out to me all the time telling me, hey, I saw your talk where you did in Sphinx, or hey, I saw this talk that you did, and thank you so much for being you, because now I feel like I can be my full self in this space too. So we never know by sharing who we are what kind of impact we could have.
So true, but I believe you said it got me immediately, drift off, but because that's such a profound thing, and we never think about it. But you're right. I mean, when self-doubt kicks in, then you realize, okay, so exactly, maybe I'm too close to it. And then you said, and also community made me keep going.
Yeah.
So when you start answering all these questions of why do I do it? Am I still going? How do I do it? In itself, it's a big learning opportunity for whoever is listening to you. And just to say, hey, just believe in yourself. And when self-doubt kicks in,
Yes.
don't worry. Just make yourself go through these kind of questions and coach yourself and just come down and then remind yourself why you're here and what you're doing. And you will find yourself back again. And
Absolutely.
the community around you will support.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know that at the beginning, but then eventually they will mirror for you exactly what you have given. And I think this has such an importance also beyond just arts, but in life, right?
Oh, yes.
So
Absolutely. The only way that we as human beings have survived through time is through our interdependence, right? It's leaning on each other. So why not do that now? Why not do that through our art? Yes, the art that we do is very individualistic in a lot of ways. Sure. But think about it. If I can't do a whole opera by myself. How many people does it take to do an opera? On and off stage.
yeah, it's insane. So many.
So it's the same way with living and with being. If we don't have that community there for us, and if we're not there for other people, I'm very blessed to have a beautiful community of people that, anything happens, I can reach out and, they're there to support me. But I feel blessed because I've poured into my community all these years through the work that I do and showing up for people. And, people, I get emails all the time. Hey, Zuly, can I talk? Can you help me with this? Or can I talk? And when I have time, I do, you know, sometimes sometimes I'm like, look, I don't have time until this day or so that, but I show up. And so I believe that by showing up for my community, they have shown up for me. And that interdependence is what keeps us going. My success is not because is not just a Zuly thing. I've been lifted up by a lot of people. So
Can imagine, because we know how this industry can be, how harsh it can be. It could really also destroy you because you're facing your own essence, and when you are hit, you're hit right in it. So either you go, you move forward, you learn, and you strengthen yourself, or you find a way, or you quit. So it's
absolutely.
pretty much yeah, either or. And but Zuly, this is so important, and I would like to ask you, so because we met at the Opera America conference in Memphis, where you were a keynote speaker and you gave this beautiful speech, and we all loved it. And that's also how I got the opportunity to know about you and to approach you. And I would like to ask you, so do you, if you were, if we are focusing a little bit on audience, the new audience that we have now, and you are doing so many things, and I'm sure you have some things that you can share with us in maybe for arts organizations, for leaders that try to really expand the reach, to try to become more relevant to the current people that are definitely younger, more distracted, less knowledgeable over the past. So maybe now when you mention Mozart, yes, they say, oh yeah, heard of it, but it's not like it used to be a decade ago, perhaps already, that Mozart was, sacred.
Yeah.
It's not anymore. It's like Game of Thrones is better. How do you see that? And what do you feel like
Mm,
sharing and
mm,
to empower, our industry on this matter?
sure. Um, I kind of, I think I kind of said a little bit of where I'm at, right? People have a perception of this art form that it's a relic and we're just celebrating things of the past and we're just kind of stuck there, right? And that and then it's elitist, it's not inclusive and all of that. And then and let's be honest, it has been for a very long time, right? But that's not how it started. That's not the origins of opera at all. Let's go back to our guy, Monteverdi, who was writing Roman mythology and said, you know what? I'm going to write an opera about Roman history instead. And it was a huge success and had our first love duet, right? And the people loved it because they saw themselves reflected on stage, right? And at that point, what that tells me is that wasn't a relic anymore. When we were doing mythology, it was, but it was a living art form. So we have to remind people and change the narrative around this that it's still a living art form. Now, for that to happen, the folks that are in power to make those changes need to want to do that. Because I could want that, but I'm not a general director, right? So it's like how instead of instead of kind of molding our audience to fit what we want, why don't we listen to what they want and give them what they want? Because honestly, we're in service to them. That doesn't mean that we're going to lose the essence and the thread of opera. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means that maybe we take some risks and tell some stories that maybe we're not used to telling, so that maybe they see themselves and all of a sudden feel invested in an arts and culture institution in their city because they see themselves.
This is absolutely um, crucial, I would say. This change of perspective from the leadership. This is also the reason why we have the podcast. And I was so pleased that we could have your voice on it, because um, we are all trying really to get to that point where it's not just a white fly doing that, but it's actually everyone. Again, the community. We build the community
Mm-hmm.
around a new best practice that is more real, authentic, and as you were saying, ultimately, it's nothing that strange. It's just closer to people, so it's more linked to the present, so to the truth,
Yes.
ultimately, right?
Yeah.
And Julie, also, I have one last question for
Sure.
you. Um, I would love to hear what you think about technology, because now we are in a world where technology is revolutionizing, I would say, everything.
Yeah.
And, I asked, of course, this question to the other guests as well. And one thing was clear from also their answers, that live performing arts industry, as opposed to all the other sectors, is way behind because things are already way more implemented and faster and utilized and already present in all the other industries. So what is your perspective and what is your approach
Mm.
with that?
Yeah. So for me, when I think about technology and AI, especially like everybody with AI, like for me, any kind of technology is a tool, right? But it's only like as ethical and inclusive as the people behind it. So hopefully when we're using technology and AI and things like that, it's my hope it's about access, right? So, if AI can help a small org scale their outreach, right? Or help a musician market themselves better, or help organize the archives of underrepresented hidden stories grow and like make sure that we're taking care of this so that it's like it's accessible to future generations. That's wonderful. But we're the people behind the AI and the technology. If they maintain the ethics and the inclusivity and make sure that there's no bias kind of automated in it, that's where I'm thinking, right? Because AI is trained based on centuries of information, but what has that information done in the past? It's been exclusive, right? So how do we make sure that we don't replicate that through technology, right? And so from that's what I immediately think of, because I think very much about how do we make sure that whatever tool we're using doesn't replicate the systems that have excluded people before. And so for me, if these things can support the growth and the authenticity and the sustainability of arts organizations in a way that doesn't replicate what has excluded people in the past, I'm all for it.
And so it's like we have a unique opportunity nowadays to sort of utilize everything we learned so far and boost the present with that. But of course, it's an opportunity to keep what worked and what was best and dismiss what
But
did harm and
exactly.
didn't work. And wouldn't it be amazing to do that? I mean, that would be a real evolution,
Truly, like,
right?
imagine we use these tools to amplify what makes us human.
That's beautiful. Immediately you have a completely different vision of technology. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Thank you so much. That's wow. It's mind-blowing. That is so true.
Yeah.
But yeah, because again, it's under the eyes of everyone, right? We all know that AI is being trained, but exactly how it is being trained.
Yeah.
And conversation should be on that. Exactly. And just of course it's hard
It's a hard
to
conversation.
establish who's gonna.
Yeah, it's a hard conversation. It's not comfortable, but if we can get comfortable with the uncomfortable of it, then that's where the
Yes.
true beautiful innovation and support of this technology can be there for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Zuly, wow. I had a sense that this would get incredible, but again, you fully and beyond confirmed it.
Thank
And so I will ask you one very last thing
Sure.
before I let you go, because you're so busy. I know you're all over the
Oh, you're
places,
fine, you're fine.
preparing a million projects, and until we see each other again,
Of
because I'm
course.
sure we're going to see each other again. And I would like to ask you, I love your energy. I think you have such this, I could feel that also when we
Thank you.
met,
Thank you.
this warmth of our heart, which always touches me when I see this in human beings. And so a heartfelt encouragement to our beautiful industry from a person like yourself that knows so much and keep it so real and just make things happen. It's like you have a, what do you call it? A magic
A wand, a magic wand.
wand.
Yeah.
Exactly, a magic wand. The Harry Potter of performing arts. Exactly.
This is my pen, but so a word of encouragement. Remember why you just started this in the first place. Why? Remember that why and operate from there. Because we all started this because we felt the magic of this beautiful art form. That's why we started. So don't lose that now. Like, don't lose that now. Lean into that to get through these difficult parts that we're going through.
Bacio.
Thank you so much.
And I'm looking forward for the hairdresser drama and the Latino hairdresser drama. That's going to be sensational. You take really good care. Thank you so much. I'm sure our audience will just love you immediately. And I hope to have you back.
Absolutely.
But we will definitely
I would be
keep in
more
touch.
than happy to be back. And thank you so much for having me.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.